ready, my soul. I'm diving in, get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in, get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in Southeast Louisiana. I'm Reverend Larrye-Marie Heyl, the spiritual director here. We are a group of radically inclusive spiritual renegades who are healing hearts and creating community. And we express ourselves by living from conscious spiritual living. Let's begin our service with prayer. Just taking a deep, nourishing breath and connecting with that place within you that knows the essence of some higher power, whether you call it God, your guide, the universe, the divine. The name really is inconsequential. What we each know about that higher power is that it stands for love and peace and ease and grace and comfort and everything good in our lives. And each of us is an individual expression of the divine. And as such, carry within us all of those amazing qualities, that ability to love, to be comforted, to rest, to feel safe and free. And what I know to be the truth about today's service is that we are each here by divine appointment. There is something in this service that we have come here to hear, be it a song, a quote, part of the message. The divine is speaking to each of us through some segment of this service and has sent us here to listen, to hear that message. I am so grateful for this community. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be a spiritual director for such a wonderful group of people whose hearts are always open. I'm grateful to know that the God without is the God within each of us and every person on this planet. And it's from all that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action. Because what I know is that the divine has seen all of this, has called it all very good. And so I can just let it be. So I say amen and invite you to affirm it with me. And so it is. And now I invite you to join in our opening song, Spirit Makes a Way.
Spirit makes a way where there seems to be no way. Spirit works in ways we cannot see. Spirit makes a way for me. Spirit is my guide as we walk
is our time for celebration and healing. Our time in our service where we celebrate life and we pray for people who desire prayer. We begin with celebration, so I invite you to say aloud, so that the whole universe can hear it, any event in your life for which you're grateful and joyful this week. And now we turn to the healing portion of our service. We're a community steeped in healing. So we pause now to pray for anyone who's not feeling the joy of life that we perhaps were just feeling. They're not feeling maybe that they have things to celebrate. And I truly love this part of our service because it's so in alignment with who we are. So let's pray. God is all there is. God is that love and that peace and ease and grace and freedom and so much more. And as an individual expression of the divine, each of us have within us all of these qualities of spirit. They're available to us right here and right now. And what I know to be the truth is that there are people on this planet right now that aren't embracing those qualities. So we stop for a moment and we create a circle of love. And in this community, we place in that circle of love anyone that we recognize within ourselves or for someone else that might need prayer. So I'm going to pause and I just invite you to say aloud the names of all of those people that you want to include in our circle of love. I know that God is right where each of us happens to be, right here and right now, moving in, through, and as each of us. And I know that the divine has heard every name that we spoke, either in our hearts or aloud. And what I'd like you to do now is pause again, and from your heart to all of theirs, just send out love, knowing that the divine knows exactly how to distribute it. And what I know to be the truth is that anything that needs to be released within each of these people is being released now, be it disease of the mind, of the body, of the soul. I know that anything that's seeking to come forth and be lifted up can be lifted up. And that this release and this lifting up is healing whatever's called to be healed. I know that each of these people is feeling more deeply their connection with the divine right now. I have evidence of that, and I know it to be the truth for everyone that we placed in our circle. So I'm so grateful to know that the God without is the God within me. The God without is the God within every person in our circle, every person in this community, and every person on this planet. And I'm grateful for that power of community prayer and what it means to the uplifting of the people on this planet. So it's from all that gratitude that I release this prayer into the law of mind, spirit, and action. Because I know that the divine, in all of its wisdom, has already called all of this good. Any heavy lifting that needs to be done to heal whatever needs to be healed, the divine has already taken care of. So I can just know it's already done, say amen, and together we can affirm it. And so it is. I invite you to join me for our community affirmation. My life's purpose is already within me, and I am committed to its unfoldment. I am here by divine appointment to join in a community that cares for one another, to be in a place that transforms people's lives, to remember the highest truth about myself, to learn spiritual tools for personal transformation, and thus to make the world a more joyful place. So this is our time for meditation, so I'm going to invite you to find a comfortable place to just relax, to take a few deep, nourishing breaths, and just settle in as you listen to the music team lead us into the meditation. And then at the end of the meditation, I invite you to sing along with the message and really embrace it. So we take a deep, nourishing breath. And as you breathe each breath, go inside yourself and ask your heart, who am I? In the movie Narnia, the lion Aslan says to Lucy, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. You just heard the words, Spirit am I. Just because you might not see Spirit sometimes, doesn't mean Spirit's not there right where you are. So during this meditation, embrace that your spirit, free of all limits, safe, healed, whole. Imagine your life with no limits. Feel the power behind stepping fully into your own greatness. In the silence, let go of any false humility. Realize that because you have difficulty seeing your greatness, doesn't mean it's not there. So visualize it. Bring that vision into your heart. Feel that it's already done. Notice all the wonderful ramifications of you stepping fully into who you are. Spirit, free of all limits, safe, healed, and whole. Spirit am I. So as we return from the silence, bring back that vision of the greatest you that you can imagine. Anchor it in your heart so you can tap into it in the future. Recognize that you can love yourself today just the way you are, and you can be the greatest you that you can imagine. Release any hesitations. Embrace that you are spirit, free of limits, safe, healed, and whole.
I'm Larrye-Marie, and today I'm reading from Win the Day by Mark Batterson, and I'm on page 108, and it's entitled Original Intent. Each day of creation in Genesis was a masterpiece, was it not? Pick a day, any day, flowers blooming and trees bearing fruit on day 3, the sun setting and moon rising on day 4, fish swimming and birds flying on day 5. At the end of each day, God stepped back and admired his handiwork. There is a common refrain. God saw that it was good. God made each day a masterpiece, literally. Then the Creator stepped back on day 6, and it's almost like he exceeded his own expectations, if that's even possible. Behold, it was very good. I know it's easy to get frustrated by everything that isn't going according to plan. I know it's easy to get distracted by all the sideways energy. Can I remind you of a few facts? Planet Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour while speeding through space at 66,000 miles per hour. How do we not get dizzy? Your ability to maintain balance is absolutely astounding. And even on days when you feel like you didn't get much done, you did travel 1.6 million miles through space. We each take about 23,000 breaths every day, which means we owe God 23,000 thank yous. By the way, some Hebrew scholars believe that the name of God, Yahweh, YHWH without the vowels, is the sound of breath. That's a beautiful thought, isn't it? On one hand, his name is too sacred to pronounce. On the other hand, it's whispered with every breath we take. It's our first word, our last word, and every word in between. Your heart will beat more than 100,000 times today, circulating 5 quarts of blood through 100,000 miles of arteries and veins and capillaries. 37 sextillion chemical reactions are happening in your body at any given time. And the combined DNA in all the cells in your body could stretch to the sun and back 61 times. Whew. There are no ordinary people. There are no ordinary things. There are no ordinary days. When patrons walk into the Miracle Theater on Capitol Hill, which we own and operate, they are greeted by something Albert Einstein said. There are only 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is. In case you haven't guessed, I subscribe to the second school of thought. If you want to win the day and make it into a masterpiece, you've got to start by recognizing it for what it is. Every day is nothing short of a miracle.
So I want to thank the music team and especially Tom Tarver for the music today and Gloria and I for reading. This is the 3rd week in our series, our 7-week series on Win the Day. And each week is independent, and today we're focusing on Fly the Kite. You may be wondering what Fly the Kite has to do with winning the day. Well, actually, it's about sweating the small stuff. How you go about anything is how you do everything. And making each day a masterpiece. Determining every day what's important for that day. And finally, celebrating the wins. As I've been saying each week, to win the day, we must realize that if we're caught up in the past or living in the future, we can't enjoy today. So this week, we're focusing on how to live in the moment by seeing each day as a masterpiece and celebrating our wins. Imagine what life would be like if we actually realized that every day is a miracle, the way that Einstein talked about in the reading that Gloria did for us. But first, the question of the week. What is the one choice that you can make today to fly the kite, to sweat the small stuff, to celebrate the wins, and to make every day a masterpiece so as to win the day? One more time. What's the one choice that you can make today to fly the kite, to sweat the small stuff, to celebrate the wins, and to make every day a masterpiece so as to win the day? The Fly the Kite title today actually is related to how the bridge was built across Niagara Falls. Way back in 1847, civil engineer Charles Ellet Jr. was commissioned to build a suspension bridge across the gorge of Niagara Falls. And at the time, the only way to cross that was by boat. And even the narrowest part of the gorge was 800 feet across, with 225-foot cliffs on either side. So the first problem to solve was how to get a cable from one side of the gorge to the other. One member of Ellet's team, Theodore Graves Hewlett, suggested a cash prize for a kite flying contest. So in January of 1848, hundreds of kids tried to fly a kite across the gorge. One clever 15-year-old, his name was Homan Walsh, took the ferry across to the Canadian side. He could take advantage of the prevailing winds. His kite string broke while he was flying it, and then he waited the 8 days to get back across. He repaired his kite and again took the ferry across, this time successfully flying his kite and landing it on the other side of the gorge. Now, what happened next was really amazing. The engineers took that kite string and attached a slightly heavier string to it and pulled it across. Now there was a slightly heavier string crossing the gorge. They continued to do this until they got to the point where they could take a rope across the gorge. And at some point they were actually able to have a cable that was 36 strands of gauge wire going across the gorge. They had discovered how to get that cable across the gorge. The Buffalo Daily Courier reported this: "We have this day joined Canada with the United States by a cord half an inch in diameter." The footbridge was built by June of 1948, and the impact of that bridge is still seen to this day. But the point is that this started by flying a kite. The quote of the week was a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., and it's about how to sweat the small stuff. Essentially, this is what Martin Luther King said: "If it falls your lot to sweep streets in life, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the heavens and the earth will have to pause and say, 'Here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well.'" There's an ancient tale about 3 bricklayers who were building a cathedral. And someone came up and asked a bricklayer, "What are you doing?" Well, the first one said, "I'm laying bricks." And the second one said, "I'm building a wall." The third bricklayer said, "I'm constructing a cathedral to the glory of God." Now, which of those bricklayers do you think was really enjoying their work and getting the most out of it? The third one was laying bricks like Michelangelo painted pictures. How we do anything is how we do everything. So it's important that we do sweat the small stuff, that we make certain that we are moving through our days, constructing cathedrals of our own making to the glory of God. When we're intrinsically motivated, in other words, when we're not concerned with what other people are thinking, and we're not trying to compare ourselves to other people, we're merely being who we are and doing what we know we do best, that's when we win the day. We sweat the small stuff for the right reasons. We do everything that we do from that same sense of inward need to sweep our streets to the best of our own ability, to use all the gifts that God gave us to the fullest. And even when we might be feeling defeated or broken down by something going on in our lives, we keep moving on. There's a beautiful 400-year-old technique in Japan for repairing broken pottery. It's called kintsugi. This Japanese art puts broken pottery back together with gold. And it's built on the idea that by embracing flaws and imperfections, you can create something that's even stronger and more beautiful than the original piece of art. Each break is unique, and instead of repairing an item like new, kintsugi actually highlights the flaws with the gold and creates a beautiful design because the gold shows through the cracks. You know, this is a metaphor, I think, for when we heal ourselves and for those things that we go through and we've managed to repair in some way. This process actually allows us to come out on the other side, having repaired ourselves, having replaced those broken parts of us, and become something even more unique, more beautiful, more resilient, more golden. In this section of the book, Batterson tells a story about Coach John Wooden, who on his 100th birthday shared this bit of wisdom. Make each day a masterpiece. Now, when Coach Wooden would face a new group of All-American high school recruits in the locker room, he would begin his speech this way. Men, this is how you put on your shoes and socks. And he would continue to relate to the young men how to put on socks so that they had no creases and no wrinkles, how to tie their shoelaces just exactly properly, and even how to tuck in their jerseys and how to knot their shorts. Woodman's philosophy was this: how you do anything is how you do everything. Consequently, how you practice is how you play the game. This seems to be so true in life. How we go through our days impacts how we feel at the end of the day and whether or not we feel defeated or elated over how we spend our time in the day. There's a century-old proverb which I think kind of sums it up. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the message was lost. For want of a message, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail. Batterson sums that old proverb up by saying, the devil is not in the details, God is. When we think about the book of Genesis, we remember that phrase that Gloria said in the reading. The day of creation in Genesis was a masterpiece, was it not? And God rested and called things good. And on the sixth day, he even said it was very good. can we not see our days as masterpieces? Last week when we were talking about Eat the Frog, I said that if you want God to do the super, you have to do the natural. We have to do the things that are natural, that are ours to do. And when learning to fly a kite, Batterson writes, if you do little things like they're big things, God will do big things like they're little things. Batterson mentions the book of Exodus and describes the flight of the Israelites out of Egypt into the promised land. Now, it should actually take about 11 days to walk from Egypt to the place that was the promised land. But the Bible describes it as a 40-year journey. So keep that in mind for just a moment. Because I just talked about the Japanese art of kintsugi, and I want to give you another Japanese word. It's kaizen. Kaizen means change for the better or continuous improvement. In Japan, it's about having uncompromised commitment to continuous improvement. The Japanese business philosophy is about processes that continuously improve operations, and they involve all the employees from the lowest employee all the way up to the CEO. The important thing here is that Kaizen is about productivity and about it happening in a gradual and methodical process. And frankly, I believe that's how the divine sees us as well. God delivers us to our destiny in gradual and methodical ways. It's a process that the Israelite journey was using. The Israelites took 40 years to make an 11-day trip. It was happening little by little in a gradual way. And just because the walk to the promised land could have taken only 11 days, it didn't mean that it was necessarily right for it to take 11 days. God grows us little by little. And that 40 years in the desert was required to learn lessons that were going to be useful later in life and later in the lives of other Israelites. In fact, Batterson uses this formula. Deliberate practice plus desirable difficulty equals durable learning. Deliberate practice plus desirable difficulty equals durable learning. So let's begin with that deliberate practice part of the equation. There was an ancient group of archers who belonged to the Benjamite tribe, and they easily could shoot arrows and sling stones with both hands, equally as well with the left hand as with the right. Now, only 1% of the people that are born are ambidextrous. So I'm certain that this did not come naturally to all of these archers. It required quite a bit of deliberate practice of them practicing with their non-dominant hand so that they could indeed throw the stones and shoot the arrows equally from both hands. Now that's deliberate practice. The next thing in the equation is desirable difficulty. I know for myself, if something is too easy, I can get bored with it right away. And if it's way too difficult, I'm going to feel like walking away because there's no sense in trying if I know I'm never going to succeed. I just recently signed up for the e-gym circuit at the Y. And when you begin using the machine, they have this visual on the screen that contains dots that go up and down. And the point is, as you're exercising, you're supposed to follow the dots. Well, it seems easy enough. And if you do follow the dots, it's the optimum way to use the machine and to get the most out of it. Well, I watched some people following the dots and they made it look pretty easy. So I got on the machine, and lo and behold, it's not nearly as easy as it looks. So I've done it 3 times now, and my scores, well, let's just say they leave a little bit to be desired between the 0 and 100 mark. This is an example of desirable difficulty, however, because what I know is that as I work at it, my scores are going to go up, and I'll get better at being able to follow the dots throughout the exercise process. Now, if it had been lifting 100 pounds, I know that's impossible for me. Not only because 100 pounds is a lot of weight, but because I've had 3 back surgeries, and it wouldn't exactly be a great idea for me to be lifting that much weight. I'm supposed to not wear heels and not get on a sitting rowing machine and carry a purse that's less than 5 pounds. Well, hey, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. My purse is not less than 5 pounds. I would like to say it is, but I cheat on that one. The point here is, with difficulty levels, it's important to find for yourself that sweet spot where it's a bit of a challenge for you, but not so much of a challenge that you're going to get discouraged and give up. If I'm going to fly a kite, what I know is that I want a kite that's got enough lift that I don't have to run like a 10-year-old to get it up in the air. And then I want it to be able to stay up in the air long enough for me to enjoy the fact that it's flying. I'm sure that there's something in your life that you have been looking at, and maybe you just have to figure out what is the desirable difficulty for that thing in your life. Where's your sweet spot? Margaret Thatcher said it really well. Look at the day when you are supremely satisfied at the end. It's not a day when you lounged around doing nothing. It's a day you had everything to do and you've done it. Desirable difficulty tasks require considerable effort. The difficulty slows us down, and we learn from the process. If I had sat down at those e-gym circuit machines and accomplished following the dots the very first time, I would have wondered if there was any benefit in me doing the exercises at all. The fact that there was a level of difficulty involved with it encouraged me to know that there was something to be gained by practicing. Batterson calls these stretch goals. The goals that we have to practice in order to be able to accomplish something. And I'm certain that once I've accomplished following all the dots at the particular level that I'm on, it'll be time for me to move to a different level of difficulty on those same machines. It's a little by little approach to going from strength to strength. I doubt that those archers were able to throw with their non-dominant hand just as easily as they could do the throwing with their dominant hand the first time they tried. But they continued to practice, and little by little, they got as good with their non-dominant hand as they were with their dominant one. For me at the moment, my e-gym is my Kaizen. Those little dots are my feedback loop because they provide me data on how to improve. There's an acronym, SWOT, that provides feedback where we look at our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. List these for yourself and then define your win and decide what is important today. Commit yourself to Kaizen. Set your own stretch goals. Make decisions each day to strengthen yourself, to eliminate your weaknesses, to take advantage of the opportunities, and to overcome any threats. Define your win. Recognize the masterpiece of the day. Fly your kite. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't go over the third point that I made at the beginning of the talk, and that was celebrate the wins. I think that it's important that we celebrate the things that we accomplish. I can only imagine that Hosen Walsh celebrated receiving that $10 for flying his kite successfully across the Niagara Falls Gorge. And I know that I plan to celebrate on the day when at the E-Gym, I get all of those circuit machines above a 90 on my little following the dots. Celebrating helps us remind ourselves that we're moving forward. It ingrains a certain type of deliberate learning that is what we get from practicing with a desirable difficulty. And it associates with that learning something that's really positive. So when you're creating a goal for yourself, at the same time, determine how you're going to celebrate that win. Celebrations actually help solidify the effort we put into something. And it allows us to recognize the benefit of having done it. That way, we can really see the masterpiece of that day when we actually accomplished our goal. You know, the Oscars just took place last weekend, and I bet that everyone that received an Oscar was out celebrating their accomplishments. Our accomplishments do not need to be so big or so very public for that matter. For myself, I tend to sometimes be better at beating myself over the things I didn't do than celebrating the ones that I did and things I did right. For a long time, I focused on how poor the quality of our online Sunday messages were, rather than focusing on the win that we actually accomplished, being able to stay in communication with the congregants. And while I'm getting better at that, I encourage each of you to define how to celebrate any accomplishment that you've made. Celebrate those wins. Let's face it, flying a kite includes the pleasure of seeing the kite up there in the air, just soaring. So if you're going to fly a kite, recognize the masterpiece of the day. How you might celebrate putting in that deliberate practice at some desirable difficulty so that you can embrace durable learning. So in summary, I invite you to notice how you are flying your kite. Sweat the small stuff. Remember that how you do anything is how you do everything. Do what is yours to do, like Michelangelo painted paintings. Construct your own cathedral to the glory of God. And if something falls apart or breaks in some way, use kintsugi to fix those cracks and build those flaws into something that's even more beautiful. And then make each day a masterpiece. Remember Kaizen. God grows us little by little. He delivers us to our destiny in a gradual and methodical way. Deliberate practice plus desirable difficulty equals durable learning. And finally, celebrate the wins. Remember the durable learning by celebrating it and creating a positive energy around your accomplishments. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it today I so easily and willingly make the one choice to fly the kite, to sweat the small stuff, to celebrate the wins, and to make every day a masterpiece so as to win the day. Now go fly your kite. Remember to challenge yourself this week by constructing your own cathedral to the glory of God. Celebrate all that you do and all who you are. And don't forget Kaizen, that gradual and consistent process of improvement. Or Kanzuji, making the flaws into something that is even more beautiful and golden. So let's pray. Taking a deep, nourishing breath and just recognizing right here in this very moment that divine higher self, that divine being, that place within you that you know something that is a higher power exists. That power, that wisdom, that glory, that love, that peace, that ease, that grace that God is. All that is flowing in, through, and as you as an individual expression of the divine. Little by little, you stepping into all that you are and all that you're meant to be. And what I know to be the truth is that today each of us are figuring out, what is our kite to fly? What is our purpose? Where is it in our lives that we can strive for something? We can sweat the small stuff. We can do something small in a wonderful way. And I'm grateful. I'm actually grateful that God is growing me little by little. And I know that there's this gradual process for improvement. I know that there's still things that I have to learn. And I know that to be the truth of everyone on this planet. If we're still breathing, we still have things to learn. So I am so grateful. I'm grateful for that knowing that right where I am, God is. And it's from that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action. Because I know the truth. God has already called it good. So I can just say amen. And we can affirm it together. And so it is.
From the love of your spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal, bless, and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me, multiplied abundantly. From the love of your spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal, bless, and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me, multiplied abundantly. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
You can find all of the information for donating at our website at CSL Southeast LA.org. You can use the donate button there, or you can use Zella or Venmo at 225-287-8887. You can text your amount to 1-225-320-5100. Or you can mail your donation to CSL Southeast Louisiana, care of Reverend Larrye-Marie Heyl, 445 Magnolia Wood Avenue, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70808. We thank you for your tithes and donations, and we appreciate the fact that you are giving gifts that are flowing out to everyone we touch. I want to thank Tom Tarver for recording this very special music for us to use as the offertory song. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, I have journeyed through the long dark night, and I was out on the open sea. By faith alone, the sight unknown, and yet I knew his eyes were watching me. The anchor holds, the ship is battered. The anchor holds, though the sails are torn. I have fallen on my knees as I face the raging sea. The anchor holds, no matter the storm. Well, I have had visions, and I've had dreams,
So next week is Mother's Day. We're planning a great service based upon love and family values. And I'm hoping you'll join us. And then in 2 weeks, we'll continue this series on Win the Day. And the title will be Cut the Rope. I hope to see you for both services. Thank you for joining us today. We invite you to like us on Facebook at Center for Spiritual Living Southeast Louisiana. And follow us on YouTube. Our channel is CSL SELA. You can also join us for our community time. You have a little bit of time to go grab coffee or tea and maybe a snack. Then dial in and join us for a live discussion. The conference line, which we use every week, is 515-604-9000. So put it in your phone with the participation code 475220. We begin with the discussion of the service and follow up with a process to help you dive more deeply into the concept of the day. We hope you'll join us. And so in closing, may you be wrapped in the arms of love and kindness. And this week, may you fly your kite. May you build that cathedral to God. And may you find each day being a masterpiece. And see the miracles that are happening every day in your life. Because when we notice the miracles, we can feel very much alive.
Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit is alive, alive forevermore. Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit is alive. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. My spirit is alive forevermore. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. My spirit is alive. Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit is alive, alive forevermore. Alive, alive, alive forevermore. My spirit